Did anybody give some thought? Is anybody willing to share what success looks like to them? Okay, that's just fine. Okay, next please, Luana. So time for action, reports and activity. I already spoke to the regional economic growth strategy. I spoke to the rebranding and the marketing plan, as well as our website refresh. And I'm really excited about that. We're going to have a huge launch in January, February on all of that. And this will be an outward branding, a family of brands for in business people, perhaps tourism. I'm not too sure yet. We have a meeting on Monday coming up in regards to that. The Central Alberta Tourism Investment Assessment is through, and we're looking at next steps right now to implement some of the recommendations. The Central Alberta Workforce Strategies, we have funding applications in there. We all know that workforce is a challenge. We have some funding opportunities, some funding grants in to create an environment of employers of choice for Central Alberta. If we could become a region known as employers of choice, that gives us a leg up in terms of attracting quality talent. We also have an event coming up on March 30th, the Workforce Strategies Summit, where we'll have a couple of keynote speakers and a panel. I encourage you to invite all of your businesses to attend because they'll get some really great information in terms of employment and employees. We are working on our Municipal Investment Attraction Readiness Program. We just secured funding through CanExport to expand on that. We're doing a regional SWOT analysis, and we're also updating our sector profiles and a number of our community profiles as well, which are a resource document, not an outward-facing marketing document that our communities can use when they get investment inquiries. The Rural Entrepreneur Program is a really big one, and it sits within our Municipal Investment Attraction Readiness Program. We have gone to India, and we are working with entrepreneurs to come to Central Alberta. We want them to come to Central Alberta, rural Central Alberta, rather than to Toronto or Vancouver or Edmonton or Calgary. We want to keep them right here at home. So I'm in the process of developing a grant application to expand that program to attract global entrepreneurs into Central Alberta. And we're looking at 3 or 4 different regions, being the UK, Ireland, the Netherlands area, Mexico, and India as well. We take Indigenous Nations relations very seriously. We have our community overviews being revamped this year. The Roving EDO program is our boots on the ground program, and our Central Alberta Connections Corridor is a long-term project in hopes of shortening our supply chains, speeding up global market access, growing tourism, and building capacity in all of our communities. So all this work has been done and is being done in about 2.5, 3 years, all during COVID, and beyond here as well. So we have a number of upcoming dates. The big ones for you to pay attention to are the November 23rd Fall General Meeting. There's 2 positions available in your category. We're going to be talking about supply chain adaptions there. And then our board meeting is on December 7th, and then the March 30th Workforce Strategy Summit that I already spoke to. Next, please. So not only do we deliver to our member municipalities, but we deliver to the Government of Alberta also. These are a number of the categories that we work in with them directly, including Invest Alberta. Next, please. So let's go to the gym. Knowing the gym is there is not enough. You must apply, so buy a membership. Being willing to buy a membership isn't necessarily enough. You have to go to the gym and participate, right? So when communities ask us about return on investment and whether or not they are receiving that ROI, the more you participate, the more return on investment you get. I don't know if anybody here has bought a gym membership January 1st with the intent of getting in awesome shape by December 31st. And what happens? I know what happens for me. I can't speak for any of you, but you know, after January 5th, I'm like, I'd rather sit down and watch Grey's Anatomy or something like that than go to the gym. You know, so I don't get my return on investment. I don't get my return on my membership because I didn't participate. So that's, I love analogies, so that's my analogy for that. We love having Didsbury. We love having Alexa in our EDO group. She brings great value. Next, please. And we love having Joyce on the board as well. So thank you very much. I do know that that's an extra cost for you to have a board member in Cape, and I really do appreciate that you provide that to the organization. And I would like to open the floor for questions.
Questions? I don't see any hands.
Okay.
No, thanks for coming.
A good presentation.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Motion? Councillor McCoy? Would take it. No. I have to say that Councillor Engel is joining us by Zoom today, and he says he can hear better when people speak into their mic, which is true. Thank you, Joy. Councillor McCoy.
I forget what I was doing now.
It's a motion for the Cape.
Oh, but council, thank Kimberly Bridlington for attending council meeting and accept her presentation in the Central Alberta Economic Partnership for the information.
All right. Since you had no questions of Kimberly, you probably have none of me, so I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? Thanks. Next we have Ruby Rock Asphalt Works, and I'm just, I'm getting there. I'm sorry, I have a name on my sheet. My sheet always goes out of order. Ethan, can you introduce our guest while I look for my sheet?
Sure. In fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll have Craig introduce her.
Thanks.
Sure. So I'd like to welcome Justin Dick from Ruby Rock Asphalt Works to speak to the 21st contract.
Good evening, everyone.
We're here tonight to provide council some contract updates.
Yeah, so
For work, request the town to purchase some infrastructure materials and request an extension to the 21st Street contract. So that covers it. You go ahead and
yeah, so due to extenuating circumstances this year, we'd like to request the town to consider change order 1 under the 21st Street contract be changed to a separate contract and completed during the 2023 season. That's the Memorial Drainage Project. Ruby Rock's willing to hold all the pricing on labor and equipment. And the only thing that would be possible escalation is asphalt, as we don't control the oil prices. So we would follow the oil prices of next year. And along with that, we request that the pipe materials that are already on site for the drainage project and allow them to be stored on site during the winter months, and that the town purchase them now and through a progress payment on the revised contract. So that's part of that scope of moving things. And any questions on that first 2 items?
questions all at once.
Okay.
That probably was better.
And then with the delayed start to the memorial complex, the pathway project would have to also be pushed to 2023. And again, we would hold all our pricing for that, subject to the asphalt escalation as well. And the last one is, we'd like to request an extension for the completion date of the 21st Street contract to October 31st. Just during this project, we've had 32 days of precipitation, which has impacted the schedule greatly. And with those 32 days of precipitation, there's drying time in that as well. So, and with that comes productivity delays and all of that as well. So we will have the project completed. We're confident that there's no more delays by the 31st of October, but just asking for an extension on that as well.
All right. Questions? Council President has a question.
Yes. First of all, I like what Ruby got. They do good work. You know, they're a solid company. So, with due respect, duck with a stick, it's your eye kind of thing. I'm concerned about this is that, is it perhaps that Ruby Dale took on too much, and now they can't complete the memorial contract and the pathway. Those were supposed to be done now. And the other thing is on 21st, with all due respect, I've gone by there so many times, gazing up the street, and I see absolutely no activity. I don't see any staff, I don't see any equipment moving, and that's not, I'm talking lately. I would like an explanation of that, and if you want an extension to the 31st of October, chances are you're going to be working in snow. And that's going to take us, that'll be canceled and pushed into 2023. So I know an issue with what you're asking here. And I'm trying to be fair, but also...
No, that's fair questions, right? And I absolutely know we didn't take on too much work. This year was a crazy year, I guess is the easiest way to put it, of lots of contracts came out late and we didn't have a lot of answers on starting them. So a lot of projects got kicked off that were in the works early in the season, but answers to the go-aheads never got early. They came late. So yeah, there's a lot of work that all went at once, and we're trying to get everyone done at the same time now. So
you're kind of suggesting that confirmation of the contract from our side came late?
I can't speak to yours exactly. I can't remember when Didsbury came out and when it went through and all that. You guys, from what I remember for the contracts, it was fairly middle of their season and everything went accordingly on your guys' end. And then speaking for the work on site, this year's been a struggle for every business for employees. So yeah, there has been delays of not having enough employees and skilled labor to do what we all need to do. And I'm speaking for some of the sub-trades as well right now. And then you add the rain delays in there and this and that, and time flies fast. You guys, Didsbury is a number one customer of ours, and we want to keep it that way, and that's why we don't want to say nothing and everyone be mad at the end of when the snow does fly or the weather does change. We want to make sure we continue a strong business in this town and keep the town happy as well. That's why I'm here to...
Excuse me, I guess the thing would be, are you confident that this thing can be completed on the 31st of October?
21st Street, absolutely.
Understanding that there could be
Yep.
heavy precipitation coming,
There could be.
and,
I watch the forecast every day.
right,
It is
and,
next to my Bible.
and with the equipment I see is, I guess I'm having problems that either you don't have enough equipment to do all these projects, or it's a scheduling of the project, because you have taken 3 of them on to do, and we haven't completed half of one. So I'm concerned that, did you bite off more than you could chew?
No, not in this town.
Because we're not gonna do the complex. You want that delayed till 23, and the pathway the same thing.
Well, the complex could have been started as of last week, but with the arena open, everything, kids going down that street, part of it was a safety thing too, right? So that's why we're requesting this change, is to be able to handle that in more capacity. But
Just
Just one more, and I'm done.
okay, but
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that it doesn't matter when you do the complex, you're gonna be interfering with the traffic going in and out of that place?
not necessarily. When hockey season's over, it's way less traffic.
Okay? They still have things they have.
They still have things they're doing, absolutely. I'm not saying it shuts down, but the amount of small kids and everything running around there is much less than it is
Gotcha.
at this time of year, right? And,
Thank you.
I'm not saying you can't ask for it, we just, we don't want to change generally.
No.
I said, I'm not saying you can't ask for it as more council have an opportunity. So we come back to you if you have more. Councilor Williams? I'll just go around.
Thank you, and thanks for coming by. I have a question when it comes to the Memorial project in 2023. How long do you expect that to take you guys to finish?
I believe there was a week and a half of underground, and there's a week of prepping and planning for paving as well. So
you expect to have that project done in a month time?
yeah, that would be fair to say.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I have a whole bunch of questions.
Get some.
Okay, well, I'll start with the first one and we'll work our way around them. Okay, so the first one has to do with the change order number 1 that you're asking for, and the Memorial Arena drainage project. We had this before us at least 3 times, if not twice for sure, if not 3, where we were talking with our public works man, Craig, and asking him what was going to be taken care of and how were we going to accommodate the traffic into that facility, given that this was going to be during a high traffic time. And we were assured at that time that there was going to be proper public fencing and that there wouldn't be a problem with this project moving forward. And so I guess my question with regard to that is, why isn't that still the case?
So I think the safety comment may have been a little preemptive. Anytime we take activities, whether they're in a playground or out in front of a memorial complex or of any kind of recreational facility, all due care is taken to protect the public from the open excavations and the equipment and things like that. We direct traffic through barricades, through fencing, however we needed to do to enable the facilitation of the public to get to where they need to get to. What we're concerned about on administration's side is the tracking. So if we don't get to paving it, so October 24th for paving in 21st Street puts us pretty late for paving in the Memorial Park area. So we would probably more than likely have clay or gravel to put us over through the winter time and into spring. And the concern from sort of administration side is increased effort on the care and facility maintenance aspect and the people that are needed to keep the facility clean, while there's this opportunity for sediment and clay and everything to be coming in perpetually in the spring. So We're more comfortable with pushing the work to the future into 23 in order to avoid the potential mud pit that could develop in April if we opened it up right now and weren't successful with getting it all completely tied up.
Thank you very much. It seems to me that when we approved this on the capital budget, that this was identified as a safety issue because it was creating a puddle in front of the complex, and that there was obviously ice created there and it's a tripping hazard and everything else. I presume that since we're not doing this, that is still a problem, and what kind of liability are we assuming or accepting because we're not moving ahead with this project and we advertise now that this is a hazard?
I'll let Craig answer that, but I think the administrative questions come when we have the RFD in front of us. I think we'd like to ask, go ahead, Craig, you'll answer that, and then after that, we'll just, any directly to Craig or administration will come during the RFD.
Yeah, so with this project, you're absolutely correct in that it creates a ice dam in front of the entrance to the facility, and it's a slipping and tripping hazard. And we've been maintaining that current situation for a number of years, and we facilitate it with sand and ice melter, and we clear it away as often as we can, and when it starts to get slushy, we get back on it and pull it away. So we'll continue to do the due diligence that we always do as Public Works and Memorial Complex maintenance staff to make sure that the public is as safe as we can possibly make it when that happens. But it's something that we've been managing for a while, and we'll manage it the same way.
Councilman Coy?
I was just thank you for the information, and I'm not sure if this belongs during the RFD or not, but I think this time of year it would be dangerous to start a project. I think council.
Come during the RFD.
Okay. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, do you have any right now? Go ahead. Do you have any questions? You got the mic off. I know. 2.5 years later, hey? There you go. Your mic's on, off, but you can't hear you. There you go. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Through volume.
Okay. Councilor Moore?
No, I don't have any questions, but I do appreciate you coming and speaking to us in person. And I live really close there, so I enjoy the quality of the workmanship. You have guys that really seem like they know what they're doing, and I appreciate the workmanship that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask mine last after the council's got theirs covered. Any more questions?
I'll yield to Bill, he's got some more.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Glasser. Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I guess my next one is directed with regard to the portion of the contract that's 21st Street and the delays. Certainly there's been, as you stated here, 32 days of precipitation. There's been 120 days of sunshine and warm. It's really warm some days. So I guess we're asking for an extension to October 31st. What's the current deadline on the contract?
September 30th.
So we're in breach of contract right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess I'm interested in what other municipalities that you're dealing with right now are the projects that you've asked for extensions on the contracts.
City of Airdrie and Town of Wolves as well.
And how many municipalities is that you're looking for right now?
That's two other municipalities. City.
That's the only jobs you have right now?
No, there's others. We have lots of sub-trades working on other projects, as well. Like our crews are starting back in on the site tomorrow, and they're here till concrete is completed. And our paving will be right behind the completion of the concrete. So we won't be out of town until it is done now. 21st Street is done. We will have somebody working, minus Sundays.
I know Councilor Bell referenced this somewhat about being on site and present, but I guess what are the normal mitigation approaches you have? So it rains 30 days and then it's sunny 120 days. How do you fit catching up in your contracts on all the sunny days? Is there a plan for that, or have you had a plan for that?
Well,
120 days of sun? Did you work weekends or later hours?
our crews have worked Sundays. They've worked long days, longer days, gone up to 14 hours. I know when we were paving 21st Street, the first part of it here, our crews worked late to make sure it got done. Just to try and open up, we were pushing our sub-trades just so we could hand over some of the streets to the residents to keep them happy and not calling you guys as much.
And you probably heard just as much as this council has, how unhappy many residents are, and how the information really at the council is that there is a lot of downtime of equipment, and that's the information that the residents provide. So I guess, our job here is to look out for residents as well as contracts, and in the end, really, we have contracts to protect municipalities and council and ensure our residents that we're doing our due diligence. That's why I'm asking that. Are there any other questions? I just have a few.
A lot of the downtime, though, is the amount of utilities that we've encompassed on that site, unforeseen. And then switching over to concrete pipe due to supply issues earlier in the year, it's a longer process it's about 40% longer to put in concrete pipe versus PVC, right? So. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions right now? All right, well, thanks, Cole, for being here to answer all these.
I'm Justin.
I'm sorry, Justin. See, I found my sheet that didn't help me anyway.
Cole was supposed to be here, but.
So thank you, Justin, for being here
Okay.
to answer council's questions.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we need a motion on that? Anybody?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move the council accept the update from Ruby Rock Asphalt Works as information.
All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. All right, we have the September 27th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to accept the September 27, 2022 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? Councillor McCoy.
Just one quick one for Luana, if that's okay. Did you correct 13, the week moved by Councillor Link?
So which one is that, Councillor McCoy?
Number 13 on the last page of the minutes.
Resolution 46022.
Right.
Sorry, wasn't
What's the correction? I'm sorry, there's Councillor McCoy. What's the correction? Oh, okay.
First name, time,
Okay. Right. And who was that? I'm sure Luana has
I
that.
wasn't.
Oh, right.
That was Councillor Windsor.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So we have the minutes of the September 27th regular council meeting. Any other comments? As amended. Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. All right, we have item 6.1, bylaw 2022-12, Rosewood Valley Campground Rates, third reading. Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that council approve the third and final reading to bylaw 22-12, amended to the monthly winter rate of $800.
800.
Did you want to speak to that 800 since you shared that?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Sure. I think that the summer rate is $650, and that is relatively the same service. Winter is a completely different picture. I think that the indication that all the stalls on the inner circle now are already booked would indicate, and I think that Councillor Moore will agree from a real estate point of view, that if you sell it within 24 hours, it was probably priced too cheaply. And so I think that rather than going with a lower number, I think that we could go to a higher number. I also think that the taxpayers subsidize the campground to the tune of about $20,000 for the summer program. I would hate to think of what it's going to be for the winter program. And I think that subsidizing affordable housing for winter residents of the campground is probably not something. And so $800 might offset that, so that we aren't subsidizing, taxpayers aren't subsidizing affordable housing in the campground.
Thank you, Mayor. The question I have is that this strictly is on rates. It's not going to affect the current management team that's involved here, right? This is strictly on rates.
I would, Ethan could answer if it will affect the current management team, since I can't answer that.
That's my one concern, that they...
Yes, this item and this motion is just about how much to charge per month for the winter, the trial period of winter camping, and what rate do we put on that a month for the winter camping.
Thank you, understood.
Any questions, Councilor McCoy?
Through the chair, I'm just curious. We kept it at $650 at the last meeting, just because that we didn't approve another rate. But was it at 700 originally, or was it below 600? Remember what it was? Like the proposed amount in the last meeting.
Yeah, the proposed amount was $650, but just due to some of the previous discussion, obviously council can set the rate for whatever amount they want, and that's at council's prerogative. So,
Councilor Moore, and then Councilor Bowden.
Actually, when house sells quickly because you already have customers, it's not necessarily priced too high. If it's priced correctly, sometimes it just clicks. And in this case, I am very uncomfortable with this because it looks like bait and switch to me. We have people that have agreed to stay there at the $650. We have the campground people offering a discount, basically to be able to allow this pilot project to go ahead. I don't believe it's going to cost us more, and it is income that we wouldn't have had otherwise. But there's a certain amount of care that has to be done just for any facility in the wintertime. So I would like us to be able to do the pilot project as proposed at the $650, and then do the analysis in spring. We did have comparables. They did their best to find us the right rate. They did that. The fact that we have it fully booked, I think, is a good thing. And I would ask that we go with the proposed rates.
Thank you, Mayor. I would agree with Councillor Moore, the fact that I'd be very disappointed if I was a renter and all of a sudden I'm going from 650 to 800 now. If this is retroactive, I can't support that. If you're gonna do that next year and raise the rate to 800, that's fine. But for people who are already committed to living there, I think it'd be unreasonable to all of a sudden say, hey, by the way, it's gonna cost you another $150 a month. So I can't agree with that, thanks.
I would suggest that council has not set the rate, so if they were advised of a different rate, that was not an approved rate. So if somebody's telling the campground people, trailers, that they were getting for $650, that would be inaccurate information, incorrect information, because council has not set the rates, and that's why we're here tonight, is to set them. So I would take offense to bait and switch too. I think that's an unfair statement to somebody. We have not set the rate, and council shouldn't be accused of bait and switch when we had that brought back to set the rate that we were comfortable with. And administration has been, they explored it, offered a couple other rates, and they put them here. And if council can set rates, and I think we need to, I would rather come out ahead at the end of the winter than have a deficit based on us not having even a budget presented because of unknowns. So I don't think it would be a bad thing if it's $800 or $750, so that we could benefit from having it open in the winter rather than suffer a loss, and a loss that we've already suffered of $20,000. And council knew that going into the budget season, or the budget talk. So I hope that clarifies my stance. We are setting the rates tonight, and I would agree with anything $750 or $800, and the campers haven't been advised of any rate yet, or they shouldn't have been. Councilor McCoy?
Just a reminder, I think, that I believe at the last meeting I asked, because we failed to get the unanimous vote we needed to move on to third reading, and I asked the question, how will this affect the rates? Because that was our last chance to do it prior to the new month. And I was told that they were just going to buy, Nicole, that they were sticking to that rate, the daytime rate, in absence of any other approved rate. What I heard.
I'll let Ethan answer that, and then Councilor Cosmic again.
Yeah, just to clarify, in what was said last time, just further again to this question is, anytime we don't have updated rates set by council, then we interpret what we have and set what's called a tentative rate. And so that takes effect up until any set rates are made by council. And so that would come into effect. Now, obviously, anyone that's paid October 1st for the month of October, they'll get whatever that tentative rate was that they paid on October 1st, but then this would, for them, go into effect November 1st. And then anyone else that comes tonight for the rest of the month, or tomorrow, then it would be prorated with this, whatever rate council sets today. So,
They're full. It was on Facebook today.
yeah.
So nobody else can.
So, they're sold out.
Councilor Nelson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wonder if, are we giving these sufficient notice to all these people, of course? I'm sure we would, that the rates are going to go up. And, yeah, I don't have a problem if you're going to charge them $1,200 a month, as long as they're given fair warning and that it's not retroactive kind of thing. They're backing into the okay, so we owe that for September, as well as October, that kind of thing. I don't want to see that. I don't think that's the way we go. But in this document, it shows $750 as the top rate. So is that what administration is advising that we use for this ongoing rate?
I'll again let Ethan answer that, and then we'll ask Councilor to the mirror if you have a question.
On this one, we're not recommending any rate. This is really a call that council needs to make based on what they're comfortable with. this is a pilot project, this is something we're trying out. The range of the rates, there's not a lot of winter camping options out there, and so there is a range kind of between that 600 and 800. But you know, that those are all kind of, again, because there's not many places to find winter camping, there are some that can charge that higher rate. I know the campground, one of the only other ones in our region that has winter camping is in Sundre, and they charge $800 a month. So again, but this is all what council for this pilot project would like to establish.
Deputy Mayor, do you have any questions? Any other comments? Councillor Windsor, then Councillor Boswick again. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. And I guess this would be through the chair to administration. What is the process for eviction for non-compliant?
There's an administrative process, and if people don't pay, then they're given notice, and then they have to leave. It's not like other places. This isn't like a rental agreement with an apartment. Or maybe that's what you're getting at. If someone doesn't pay, then they have to leave. That's, you can't, kind of like a hotel. You can't stay in a hotel if you don't pay your hotel bills. So yeah, it's pretty simple.
It's, I guess, kind of related to rates and fees, but not really. That would be an operational process. Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion to approve third and final reading, bylaw 2022-12, amended to the monthly winter rate of $800. Okay. I'm just wondering why Councillor Moore's, you like that recorded vote, you're nodding there?
Fine.
I just need clarification. Are we doing a separate motion to amend it before we go to third reading? Or are you including it as part of third reading?
I just read the motion right out of the second option.
Yeah, it was or, so is it?
Yeah, so I'll clarify just so everyone's clear. So what Councillor Windsor moved to do third reading with it amended to 800. So what's the motion being considered by council is to pass third reading with the rate changed to 800.
Yes. And I'm still confused over nodding heads.
Yes,
So-
that's the motion.
No, the nodding head was, I guess, in approval of or favor of Councillor Windsor's comments. I'm not, I think, yeah, that was certainly not expected. But I'm going to call the vote for the $800 fee. And all in favor? And opposed? So that's defeated, so we'll have another motion to another rate. Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council approve the third and final reading to bylaw 2022-12 Rosebud Valley campground rates and fees as proposed.
Okay. Recorded vote well, so I'll call the vote. All in favor of $650 a month? And opposed? So that's carried at $650 a month.
Question. Should we have in there that that's an approval vote because it's a pilot year and not necessarily the normal rate?
I think that it's coming back. So this is just the rate for this year, and then the whole pilot will bring that back as to what, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have bylaw 2022-14, land use bylaw amendment. Is there anything that administration would like to speak to before we make the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, this is some work that we've done administratively to enhance our land use bylaw and provide us with some additional tools administratively in our planning department to work with some unique properties that we have that we're facing some hindrances to some specific development opportunities, and to help broaden, which we think in an appropriate way without interfering at all with the intended purpose of the zoning, so it's to enhance the residential zoning there. This is to approve this amendment for first reading, which will then lead to a public hearing and opportunity for people to make comment, as well as additional information will be presented at that public hearing for council's consideration of that.
Great. Any questions? You would like to make the motion? Mr. Baswick, you're moving towards your mic.
Yeah, thank you. I'd recommend a council grant first reading to bylaw number 2022-14, amendment to the land use bylaw. That council said.
We'll vote on that.
Is that two?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll make-
Thank you.
So, any other questions or comments? Call the vote on the first reading to bylaw 2022-14 amendment to land use bylaw. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Go ahead.
Thank you. Second part, that council set the public hearing for bylaw number 2022, that's 2022-14, at the November 8th, 2022 regular council meeting.
Okay. Questions? Should be, it's a process that we'll go through. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Item 6.3, payment authority policy. And before we make this motion, Ethan, I would like that we get a legal opinion on this policy, and only because the MMGA talks about this in 213-4 and taking away responsibilities or reallocating responsibilities of council. I would like to have that motion, that policy 2022 dash, it's not just a minute, one page. Of course, policy statement, FIN 004-22, and I'd feel more comfortable having a legal opinion. Not because I don't, only because the MGA allocates this responsibility with mayor and council. So I think that would be a fair ask to bring this back with that legal opinion. So I would ask the motion to be changed to defer to administration to get a legal opinion on changing all this outside of what the MGA talks about. Councillor Basel has a question, and I'll ask Ethan to.
Well, and I'll just clarify, this isn't outside the parameters of the MGA. The MGA sets forth and says that council and the mayor have specific roles unless delegated through policy. So this is within the parameters of the MGA. We would never do anything that's outside of the MGA. The MGA is what governs everything that we do. And then the other thing is, that what I would ask is any motion for legal opinion, just what I would ask is that it set forth clearly what specifically the legal opinion is to instruct on. So.
What would be on? Go ahead, did you have a question, Councillor Basel?
Yes, I just wondering if it's something we should table until we do get that legal opinion, then we don't have to go through the whole process on this.
I would find that. I won't bring it up, so I didn't ask it to be removed, and I know, I just looked at it, even asked me for some wording too, before it was put on the agenda, but I just really would feel more comfortable knowing, and it certainly has cast no anything on administration or council, but as mayor, I would feel way more comfortable with that comment, and on even, you know, how many municipalities are going with this to just do all the check signing and then at the end of the month have the mayor sign it, but to me it doesn't seem like a big issue. We're always around to sign. So can we then table this, but the motion would have to be to bring back information from our legal counsel on this policy. Councillor Floyd?
Couple of things. One is, I think that maybe it's our council that we should be retaining if we're asking for an interpretation to council's role and the role of administration. I'm just suggesting that. I've heard that somewhere before. And the other thing is, it'll come back to me. For now, that's it.
Okay. You want to make that motion?
Yes, I can if you want to.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that council direct administration to bring back a legal opinion on yes, payment authority policy with regard to, Ethan wanted this fairly specific, so I'm trying to think of how we can make this specific. And it would be with regard to upholding council's role and responsibilities.
Signing checks. Deputy Mayor?
Sorry, and just,
Anybody?
if I can just, you mind repeating that again, Bill?
I have
Oh, you got it?
I have
You got
it.
it.
So, to recommend administration bring back a legal opinion on finance policy 004-22, payment authority policy with regards to upholding council's roles and responsibilities in signing checks. In the signing.
That's exactly what I said.
Council, for your indulgence, just to get, I feel better with this, and I never want to be in a situation, and I'm not saying that I would be put in that, but it's my peace of mind that I have to. So, any other questions? I'll call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we have item business arising from delegation 7.1, the Ruby Rock Asphalt Works. And I would like, again, this contract is in default already as we speak, and council has never seen the contract. We don't know, we don't even know what the deadline was until tonight, and I would really, again, like legal counsel, legal opinion on council's accountability on deferring so many contracts. Been asked to pay $60,000 for something that's generally contractors, part of their project. And we got a legal opinion, and I think council needs to see the contract to understand what we're voting on. Because I have always asked for as much information as we can have, and I feel that the contract would clear up a lot of questions. Councilor McCoy?
One thing or a couple of things would be to see change orders. And normally change orders are due to a lack of, planning, say you missed a whole thing. So what were the 3 change orders? One was the Deer Coulee path replacement.
And that's, I guess, part of that too, Councilor McCoy, is we don't have that in front of us to know all the history. So having more information would be valuable. And obviously it's in breach of contract already as of September 30th. So I'm just going to reiterate this. I'm not saying we can't answer those questions, but at the end, all we have is a contract that protects our municipality, our council, and ensures our residents that we're having due diligence with these contracts. And because it's in front of us now, that's a decision we need to make. So change orders, would those be in all the contract? Once council gets the contract, we would read those? Or Craig, was that, Councilor McCoy, you have that one and then you have a couple more questions?
Yeah.
So just a couple of things, because this one's a pretty big topic, I think, of very particular interest. The contract has been signed by council on May 20th, 2022. The contract term and conditions are available to you guys at any point in time. The contract did expire September 30th of this month, when we were in the midst of a whole bunch of other ongoings. And so what that means from a contractual perspective, so we'll get to the change orders in a second if you guys will sort of allow me. So when a contract expires in time, you enter into a condition called liquidated damages. So in our contract, it's around $1,000 a day, and that's a term in the contract. So every day that they haven't completed, we are in a position to be able to apply liquidated damages and collect that fee. There's a number of obvious, I think, issues with applying liquidated damages to a local contractor. The second way is to go forward with a performance bond. And so what performance bond collection means, it creates a pretty black eye for the contractor with respect to their bonding firm. The second thing is it delays the project significantly from being completed, because as soon as we start to trigger that process, it's a legal process, all activity will cease. And that process will take as long as it takes until there's a change in contractor. So we would have to go out, we'd have to get somebody else to take on the work. The bonding company would pay the difference between the contracted amount and the new contractor's amount only. So we would still pay for all the work to be done except for the difference between the two contractors if there was one. So that's sort of the two options once a contract expires. In our contract, those are the two options. So in consultation with ISL, the performance bond process is of no value to us to try and get the project completed. So it's a possibility. Absolutely, it's an avenue available to us. It won't give us what I think our ultimate goal is a completed 21st Street. So the second one is liquidated damages. So that is a possibility. We could just put the pressure on them and say it's going to cost you around $30,000 to finish your project. So that is also available to you 100%. But our contracts are there to protect the municipality. They are there to ensure the contractor puts continued pressure on progress. Our engineers are there to push progress forward. This one did experience a number of weather-related delays and things of that nature. I think there's some difference in opinion of what those days total to, but I haven't got an accurate number yet. So I don't, not to get into the particulars, because 2 or 3 days isn't going to save this project at this point in time. So the errors, the cumulative process has been relatively slow due to a lot of complexity in the ground. We got a lot of shallow gas utilities, communications. So the TELUS infrastructure that's up on 19th Avenue there, 21st Avenue is their basically communication highway. So if there's a communication line that goes to one of those, that new TELUS facility just north of the AGT building there, that it goes down 20th. So every time we have to go to the side streets, or if we've got a water service or a sewer service from a resident that's adjacent to the work, we have to go underneath this 2 foot by 2 foot by 3 foot wide concrete duct. So it's really tedious. You got to dig on the backside, you got to dig on the front side, you dig back on the backside. It takes a lot of time. It's not like clearing free land. So they've run into a lot of project delay due to crossings that we had covered in the contract, and we were paying to be done in the contract, but it has taken them significantly longer than I think they initially anticipated it was going to take. So that's kind of the spiel on the contract and the dates and things like that we agreed to back in May. With respect to the change orders, so when the capital project for Memorial Park, Memorial Drainage Project was approved, we had several avenues to go. With the uncertainty in the market and the prices that we were experiencing, inflation and just a whole lot of uncertainty, we knew the price in the contract for the exact same kind of project. It's drainage pipe, it's excavation, it's concrete, it's asphalt. So same kind of work that's on 21st Street. So everything was there, everything was ready to go. Ran the numbers, it came in much under budget. It made sense to just make a change order to the contract for the same values and get that work done. So that's where change order 1 originated. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about change order 1? 8? Okay. Do you want to ask them now, or do you want me to keep going? Oh, date. Sorry. Date of change order 1?
You have them scared.
I thought you said 8 questions. Yeah, I was like, all right.
You're coming later.
Yeah. Okay, just give me a second. I just got my computer fell asleep. I talked too much. Change order 1 was initiated July 22nd. I signed it September 8th, but that was just, everybody else assigned it and they were given the green light to move forward back in July.
So, because it saved money, or why was the change order assessed?
So the change order request, so we do a change order instruction to the contractor to bid more work. So we gave them the drawings, we gave them all the unit rate, or the quantities that we were anticipating for the Memorial Complex project. They put it through the unit rates and the stuff that was in the contract, and they gave us a price, and that price was a fair bit under the capital budget estimate approved by council in the spring. So it was under the budgets. It was contractually, competitively bid contract that it was attained under. So provisionally, it's an extension to a contract to get more work done for the same unit rates.
And they took that on July 22nd, knowing a whole bunch of factors may delay that.
As a contractor, you're always willing to take on more work, and I think there was some really poignant questions asked about how much work you take on. So sometimes that gets overshot.
So, Councillor Batten, President, Councillor Windsor again?
Thank you, Mayor. Like I said before, I enjoy Ruby Dale's good work, no doubt about that. The question I have is that I think they have, it could be reasonable to assume that they take on more work than they can handle through other towns as well. A good example, when I built my place, I had to chase the contractor, because that's what they do. They come in and do a certain amount, then they take off, and you have to beg them to get back in here, and the squeaky wheel gets the work done. Right? This is on a bigger scale, of course. Okay, there's a contingency here built into this, I'm sure, which should help cover some of that. I think part of it could have been our issue for delaying the implementation of the contract. I don't know. It's a guess. I guess it's easy to look in the rearview mirror. How are we going to mitigate this? What would you suggest as a process of solving this issue? Because if we hit him in the head with some type of problem, he could walk away and we're left with a hole in the ground all winter, which is conceivable. So I don't want to get into that kind of a fight. I'd rather mitigate this if we can, right?
Councillor Bassett, there's 4 points on here that address 4 motions, and because it's at council's table, that will be a discussion. So as we go through, if people, I suggest that we see the contract and get a legal opinion, but you answered the legal opinion as far as that there's a clause in the contract. If I can before Craig, that we awarded, Craig was approved for this project April 12th, and I believe you would have contacted them immediately, and it's still snowing and freeze and whatever, so if that answers your question, April 12th, and they were notified right away, I don't believe that our municipality's at fault here for that, because of the timelines we passed it in. And because it was all redone, we had already approved the capital budget, and then Craig came back with a 2-year because Rubydale felt they should do the 2 years in 1 year on April 12th, and that's where the project became bigger, and they said they could do it in 1 year.
If I may, maybe I misheard, because I thought Craig said they signed the contract for the complex in September.
For the complex, but for that old 21st Street.
Yeah, I got that. So that,
July 22nd.
yeah,
They signed on July 22nd.
yeah.
So I'd rather us sort this out with the motions, unless we're willing to make the motions.
Well, are they still?
Because the recommendations are here from the administration, and council has to mitigate this.
But they're in defiance of the contract at this point, right?
Right.
So,
Does council want to see the contract and get a legal opinion on our direction? I'd like to say, and then Councillor McCoy, I'll acknowledge your hand, that the see now mine. So I forgot. Go ahead, Councillor McCoy, and then I'll finish that with Councillor Basil because it was important. I know what it was. I'll write it down.
Carry on.
No, I'll write it down. You go ahead. I'll write it down.
I'm just, why are we buying the pipe material?
Thank you for that question. So if we're done with change order 1, I'm totally willing to go on to number 2. Yeah. Does anybody else have a change order 1 question? Sorry, Councillor McCoy, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so with the second request coming from Ruby Rock, so the $60,000 that they've said for the value of the pipe that's on site. So normally in a contract, the contractor buys the pipe and we pay them per linear meter of installed pipe. So pipe, gravels, gaskets, manpower, excavators, dirt, compaction, the whole 9 yards. So we pay in a installed pipe position. So our contract rate is, I don't know what the exact number is for that size of pipe off the top of my head, but what they're telling us is the material cost for that pipe is around $60,000. And I'd ask them for the true value plus probably a handling fee of 10%, like the contractual 10% that everybody adds. But anyways, that's getting a little too in the weeds. But the pipe cost has been purchased because it was a change order under the 21st Street contract. It's an amount due to the contractor under that contract. So if we remove change order 1, the material costs for that work are kind of left in a bit of a limbo, and the right responsible owner is the one who's going to have it installed. So next year, we will have and own the pipe. The 21st Street budget, or 21st Avenue budget for this work has the capital allowance to buy the pipe. It would sit on site, and then when the contractor mobilizes in the spring, they'll just pick it up and put it in the ground, and then we'll pay the differential.
Yeah, finish that question. So you're telling me this is the 21st Avenue storm,
Yes.
right? So I guess I'm just concerned. So is 21st Street going to get done this year? I know you're saying that this has nothing to do with it, but this 60,000 has to do with things they're not going to do till next year, correct?
Yeah, I'm getting confused on the questions that the number of questions that are coming at me there. So
No, just to clarify, the pipe, the $60,000 of pipe is for the project at the Memorial Complex for the storm drainage at the complex. That's why we've suggested to move that whole project to next year. We'd buy the materials now though, and they would sit on site over the winter.
And we could retender that. So if council decides not to allow, not to honor, or the contract's over because they didn't get the work done, then we can retender that.
yeah, absolutely. There's no commitment to do the work. They've made an offer to us to extend pricing to next year. I love going to market to get new pricing, but it might be valuable to have that held pricing available to us as well.
All of the pricing, no, not just some of it. We could insist on that as well, that they hold all the pricing. We could insist on that, council. Right?
We can insist, yeah, I mean, we can insist on any conditions we wish. The risk you run there is if they would, contracts are an interesting game.
Deputy Mayor? Or if you use it.
He's on, his mic is muted.
Go ahead. Yeah, I can. Thanks for that. Is that it? He's not object to purchasing the pipe for $60,000. Because prices might go up next year. They might go down too, but, you know, it's, everybody has this vision. All of us are visionaries about pricing, and we probably aren't. But anyway, Councilor Windsor, and then...
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Just wondering if there's more change order information that is to come yet, or if you're finished the change orders.
There are two other change orders. One of them is to increase the asphalt thickness slightly on 21st Street to get a more durable product. And then the other one is for the pathway. Pardon me? The date? that one was finalized September 14th. And a big part of that was, at this stage of the project, we know end of project values, give or take, and there was contingency to get a better product and a better project overall to increase the asphalt thickness, so that the opportunity was taken advantage of. And then the third one is the pathway to the cemetery. So that one they are planning to be able to execute before the end of October as well. So the 21st Street contract in principle and in total would be, if extended, would be the cemetery pathway completed, and then 21st Street completed as well. So that would be asphalt, concrete, and landscape rehab.
If I may, Mayor, the date on the change order number 3?
That one was September 16th as well.
You have a question?
I have a comment, also, maybe it's
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm a little concerned that they come to this after the contract's expired. I think that anybody driving around town that looked at 21st Street at the 1st of September could have told you it wasn't going to be done by the end of September. I think that was, I don't know how construction goes, but it was completely torn up still on the 1st of September. And all these change orders that have taken place in September are suggesting that they have obviously agreed to them so that they felt that they could get done by the end of September. Why are we entertaining this 3 days after the end of the contract? This to me, they should have come to us 2 weeks ago and said that we're going to have a problem, we can't meet it, and we need an extension. This after the fact thing bothers me. I'm willing to make a motion, if you would like, Mayor Hunter. And I'll move that council directs administration to provide a copy of the contract with Ruby Rock Asphalt Works for the 21st Street project, along with a legal opinion outlining council's options and liabilities, and any other pertinent information to the October 25th, 2022 regular council meeting. You didn't get that, but I can email it to you.
Councilor Beswick?
I don't know, are we ready for some comments or?
Unless, do you want to speak to your motion first and then Councilor Beswick?
Well, sure. I'd be happy to speak to it first. I think that we, first of all, I'm not going to, I don't feel comfortable extending a contract that I don't even know what it says. I got a problem with that, and maybe I don't have the legal acumen to decipher it. But I think that if we refer to legal opinion, we'll find out what our council's options and liabilities are with regard to that contract. And then, obviously, there's other information that would have been valuable to have in this discussion and through this discussion. I think we've had this presented to us several times throughout the course of this project, and I was always of the belief that first of all it was going to take 9 weeks, and then it was at the end of September or August, and then into the end of September, and I really don't know when we were really expecting this thing to be done. And so I guess I would like all the information put together so that all these change orders, all this information comes to us in an RFD so that we can make an intelligent and educated decision.
Okay, Councilor Beswick and then Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a problem with this, and the problem does not lie with administration in any way, in my opinion. They've done their due diligence, they've done what they can do. The problem I have is that the contractor, I don't care if he's local or from Edmonton, I believe he's taken on too much. And, he's Airdrie, he's in Olds, and it's typical of a contract. They do that kind of stuff. And I said the least I am is disappointed that this particular contractor is not bearing down and doing the work. Too many absences. I've seen those equipment parked there and there's not a soul in sight. And that's at a time of the day where they should be digging or doing something. Now, unless I don't know anything, which I obviously don't about some of the contracting, I guess what I'm thinking is, if you're going to take on a project of any kind, they've got years of experience. They should be, and I'm sure it's in the contract, that they're looking at things like unintended consequences, where you have lines and sewer lines and various things that cross their path when they're doing the dig and all that kind of thing. Their experience should have told them that be prepared for that. And if they're not, and it delays the project, that's on them. I, as an individual, I wouldn't pay for it myself. I'd say, hey, this is your baby. You made the boo-boo, so you've got to look after it. And at least I am disappointed. I don't, and I like Rubydale. I do. They do good work when they do it. And just a side question for my information: why are we using concrete as opposed to PVC? Is it not available or too expensive?
Yeah, Craig, maybe you can speak a little bit to utilities and those kind of things, that when it looks like there's no work happening and the reason for that and the delays that are caused by the utility, maybe explain a little bit of that. And then as well as what Councillor Vaswick's just asked about. And the other thing I'll just bring up as well is we are bringing this also in a way, they're one of our local contractors, and so we do administratively, we do have there are ways that this contractor being local helps us with other areas and other things of our operations, and has helped us in the past, and there's benefit that we have. And so something to keep in mind, whatever you end up deciding is the right course, and that's council's prerogative, is to keep in mind that as a local contractor, there have been just operationally different things through the years that they've helped us out with, and that they've again, because they're one of our locals, but they're now facing, due to some other things that have happened, they are facing some hardship right now, which has led to this restructuring of the way they're trying to do this project. So Craig will just have his.
I just want to know, Ethan, in fairness, Craig has answered that they were aware of all the utilities that they had to deal with. So if you have any other information about those utilities, that's fair. And on their letter, they did mention that they'd like to continue their amicable relationship. I think everybody wants to continue that, but that's what contracts. That's why you have contracts. Is we don't want them to be angry if we or offended if we apply what's in the contract and the money that Craig talked about to not the bond, but the other compensation. So if there's anything to add about utilities, please
maybe
do.
Speak to the part that they didn't anticipate, that did turn out to be different than what we all anticipated.
Yeah, so I think the conversation around the utility crossings that they've faced is kind of a difficult one for people to sort of understand the implications on a project that they can impose. So I'll just, as an example, so a design review of the project had to occur 3 weeks ago when they were running along, and all of a sudden there was a gas line that was in the middle of the storm line, and they had to readjust slopes in order to get up and over top of it, but yet stay below frost lines and stuff like that. So this has been a project wrought with individual, but a multitude of insignificant on their own issues, but when you add them all up, they created a bit of a monster for the contractor. So they would get to a point, and it's on them to know the elevations of all these things. They're supposed to future cast, they're supposed to project into the next block, and that's why we did 2 at once, because then you can try and get these things to work, and you wiggle your way in as best you can. But they had a number of those where they had to readjust slopes on the pipes in order to barely get underneath this gas line or over that one. The utility duct that we talked about with TELUS. There's a number of water services and sanitary services that came off of 21st Street, which they should have come off all the avenues because that's where all the houses are addressed off. So we service off the same avenue as we address from, and there's good reason for that. So we always know where our services are. There was 4 houses that we went past and then found out that there were sewage issues, and we had to go back and re-dig holes. So it's like I say, no one issue was unexpected or, in and of itself a problem overall. It was just the number of them that they faced, and I can't underscore the labor. When you do an award, you assess the team that's coming. The team that we were given came. Over the due course of time, this guy would leave, this guy would show up, this, that, and the other thing. But the quantity of staff, I think, was not quite there, and maybe the quality of their experience may not have been top notch. So we've had some things where even the engineers have had to be of assistance on the project. And this is, again, not in and of itself one reason for the project delay. It's the combination of it all. So that's the shallow utility crossings. The pipe question is a material availability. Early in the season, PVC pipe, there wasn't a PVC pipe to be had between here and Fort McMurray. And people were fighting over the scraps that were in everybody's yards. We made 3 pipe material changes on the storm line alone to try and get material that was approved in time. So they'd give us the request to change materials, we would review it, we'd respond back, say, yeah, go to the supplier, confirm your order. They'd go to phone the supplier and they'd say, well, that part's gone now, so we now have this available. And that's kind of how it works. It's the easiest to install goes first, and then it's down the drain. Concrete's the worst because it's about this long. It weighs 600 pounds a piece. It's hard to move around. It's hard to get in the right slope. It's hard to get in the right alignment, get all the gaskets sealing up tight. So it's just more laborious. He wasn't wrong when he said 40%. I'd be surprised if it was only that. So that was the pipe part. So I do have about 15 years worth of contract experience. And so this is the first project that has actually gone past its due date outside of one contractor that went insolvent. And that was an absolute disaster. So this contractor, they aren't in that situation, but they have had recent issues, ones that sort of shake an organization to its knees and its core. So deferring the memorial work is a bit of an acknowledgement of maybe taking on too much, but I think it's more of an acknowledgement of the incident that they've had and realizing that maybe they need to take a little breath. Maybe we can manage our way to next year and then give them an opportunity to catch their breath, get back on their feet, and hit the ground running next year. And if you don't know what I mean, I can elaborate, but I don't want to get too in the details.
Well, I think you should. I think it's been on the news. It's
Yeah.
not secret, but maybe other councillors don't know.
Sure. So Wednesday last week?
November 28th or 9th.
Yeah. Okay, so it's over a week ago now. So yeah, so they had a fatality on their project in Airdrie. And so it closes down paving operations for a considerable period of time while OH&S does its on-site reviews and they do an investigation, and then they get a whole sort of due process that comes with that. But what I think, it was indicative of maybe sort of the fast-paced environment that they were trying to maintain in order to get all of the work done. And so when, as an engineer, I guess, as a contractor, as someone who contracts a lot of consultants and contractors, you look to sort of what are we doing that we could help them be maybe less impacted. And I think that's kind of where, working administratively, we've kind of, the rec department is comfortable with not doing the work this year to maintain the drainage challenges that we've faced in the past years, as sort of a way to alleviate some of the pressures that they're under. So
I think Too, though, that depends on what side of that sympathy or empathy you have. It depends if you're the family of the killed person versus the other side. There's two sides to that story that we all have opinions on workplace accidents, and I'm not going there with that. I'm just saying that there are two sides to workplace accidents, so, and two opinions. So I'll just leave it at that. And Councillor McCoy has a question, and then Councillor Basler.
It's already, what is it, October 11th, and I don't see the point in dragging this out and having 2 blocks blocked off all winter long. I think the residents would be really upset. I think that maybe some of this needs to come back for more discussion, but to keep the project going and to show a sign of good faith, I guess. If we said that we're allowing him to complete the project by October 31st, but just to get it going.
So we'd have to, Councillor Basler, and then I'll word that amendment perhaps for you. Councillor Basler, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick observation. My understanding is that there are a lot of disciplines in this project. One was engineering, which would have informed the contractor of the various underground services that he was liable to come into. Now, I know that perhaps some of them are not exactly, they'll say 6 feet, but maybe it's 8 feet. I mean, those things, there are variables. But what I'm getting at is that I'm sure that the contractor had access to the engineers to point him in the direction of this is where the sewer line is, this is where the communication line is, so that he could work effectively. Would that be a fair assessment? I'm not sure.
So the design phase of a project kind of works in 2 different ways. You can core holes at every location where you anticipate a crossing, get a surveyor to shoot those holes, fill them back up, patch them up, leave them gravel, whatever. You go through survey and you spend, I don't know, $5,000 to $7,000, maybe $8,000 picking all that detailed information up, doing your wiggle through the surveyed data, and it works really great unless you forget one. The second way is we know global, like geopositional information systems, GIS, I don't know if you've heard those terms, but like ATCO tells us that their line is on the north side of 16th Avenue, let's say. So we know to expect an ATCO gas line there. So we'll take the hydrovac out in construction. So the surface has been stripped, nothing but clay. They'll hydrovac, they'll find the line as they're digging pipe 70 feet back. Find the line, and then they say, oh, there's going to be a conflict with this pipe. They'll try to see what they can do, either lower the slope or maybe raise the slope or whatever that they see fit. But there's a design construction phase that goes into. The design construction phase is the general route that municipal work goes. We don't spend the time to go and identify the location of absolutely everything, because as soon as you tell the contractor that you've guaranteed the location of everything, they're going to find something that wasn't, and then there's going to be a back claim. So you put the onus on them to forward shoot, to verify the exact location of everything that they're crossing. And there's a good reason for that, because the liability is on them. We pay for hydrovac costs through the contract. So, but what can happen, and what happened in this one, is we had 2 conflicts, and so we had to do 2 different adjustments. So, and they had laid like 4 sections of pipe too many, so they had to go back and pull those sections and relay them at a different grade. So these can occur, but we put the onus on the contractor for, like I say, a number of good reasons. So.
My general thinking quickly is that my understanding is our town is thoroughly mapped with drawings of all the services that we have here that should be available to the contractor. We don't.
Okay.
I'm done.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fair. He shook his head. But we can have that another day, that information, I'm sure. But maybe an amendment to the motion that I think the penalties are important. And to have further information back to council, because I think we also need to review our contracts as a council to understand, so we understand better as well. So we're signing these things, we would like to have that understanding. And we would also, you say there's legal coverage in that they can continue it, we can apply penalties. I think the issues are whether or not they get the projects next year, so those might be two separate motions, but would you amend your motion to say?
Yes, I would be happy to amend my motion. I think that I would like to agree with Councillor McCoy that we want to get this thing done. This is ridiculous. And the problem here is that we don't live on that street. And so we can't identify or empathize with those residents and what they've had to put up with for the last 5 months. And what is still pending and still waiting. I'm still not happy that we're doing this retroactive after the expiry of the contract.
Okay,
but
so what's your amendment?
my amendment would be direct administration to provide a copy of the contract, Ruby Rocks, to the meeting, but, and at the end of that, Luana, add, extend the contract for the 21st Street project to October 31st, applying liquidatable damages as per the contract for every day beyond September 30th.
That's covered in the contract.
That's covered in the contract.
Is that all the right wording, Craig? Liquidatable damages and...
So you're asking for the penalty?
Yes.
Yeah, so like I said, this is the first time I've had a contract expire on me. So the liquidated damages clause, I think you kind of just sort of say you invoke that clause of the contract. And I will instruct the engineers to proceed with that. But there is a conflict between sort of context there. If we extend the contract, the liquidated damages go away. And the liquidated damages become applicable after October 31st.
Okay.
So
we don't extend the contract.
So we wanted to finish the job, but we wanted to invoke a clause on...
the liquidated damages clause.
Well, I think that's dangerous. I really think that's dangerous. They just...
It's not my recommendation.
If you're applying for damages, then they don't.
And we're not going to hold it, it's not going to hold it. I would go with give the extension, if they get past the 30th and 31st, then we invoke the $1,000 thing. But for now, I think that's pretty scary.
Yeah, well, we have to have a right, so I'm not saying that
They're all at the same time.
Good, yeah.
No, that's why we can't.
Get some feedback on that. I think in the big picture, we're after some compensation for that. It's inconvenience to the residents.
We don't have to earn money on this.
No, I'm not. We're not earning money on this thing.
There
was 1.8 million.
It's not constant standing for them to go.
Okay, Councillor Moore has her, you and I will debate after the meeting if you want, but Councillor Moore. And I think that Ethan and Craig have a suggestion.
From what I understand, originally it was just from 15th Avenue over the one block. That part is done. That if that was the only contract we had, it would be over. The next block was open while they were doing that. We could still go back and forth because I live right there, and it wasn't closed off until they started past that point. And so they weren't closed off on both ends for the whole 5 months. They did, if that's what it was. They did
that doesn't have to do with our motion though.
No.
So can you get to the point of what?
Yes, I'm getting to the point.
Of the motion.
The relationship that we have.
Ethan, would you like a recess?
No, you guys.
I'm fine with that if you do.
No.
This has been long.
Yeah.
Okay.
The relationship that
we didn't ever have before with our local contractors is important. And the fact that we've already heard tonight that they are doing things for us, they're helping us out here and there without charging us. I don't know why it gives us pleasure to spank them when there are things beyond their control, like the labor issues that everybody recognizes everywhere you go, and the issues that we have with our town being done piecemeal, and every part of it is not necessarily where it should be. And I know they run into that. So I would like to continue with the good relationship they have. They've done their best. They're doing a good job. I think we saved money, and that's a question that I have, by doing the 2 blocks instead of just one. And so I would like to know that we did save money instead of doing it in 2 contracts.
We dealt with that on April 12th. So that motion is on April 12th. And we have a motion on the table that has nothing to do with saving the money. It has to do with, so Ethan, do you have any feedback on that?
Yes, so my understanding and mine and Craig's understanding is you can at the same time extend the contract, but at the same time assess penalties for the contract being in breach, because once you've extended the contract, it's not in breach anymore. So if you want that project done by the 31st, then it requires extending the project. Because if you don't and you want to now activate all the penalties and all that, that's a whole process and that's a whole thing. But that does mean then that the work stops because you're now going after for a breach of contract. And that's a whole legal stuff that will have to be sorted out. And I would need to get a whole bunch of legal opinion on all of that. But
okay, so
you can't do both of those.
You're recommending, like, our first motion then will be to extend the contract to October 31st, because we don't want to be left high and dry with the road that's not done, like 23rd Street in 2018, that we all experienced that, and that wasn't very pleasant. So is that a simple amendment to a motion that, I know it's reluctantly, Councillor Windsor, but we're in a rock and a hard place, and
My problem is that they've been breaching contracts now. So what guarantee do we have they're not going to be in breach of contract if we extend it? And they're not going to be done by August 31st anyway.
That's when you start charging $1,000 a day.
Well, but we're at that point already.
It just depends what you have 2 roads. You can either treat it as a breach of contract and go down that road to treat them as someone that you'd now like to take penalty and legal action against, or you can take the road of we'd like to have them finish this project for us.
21st Street, and then we deal with the other projects.
So reluctantly, I will amend my motion to get the job done. But I feel like we're being backed into a corner again. And I feel like we're between a rock and a hard spot. And that's not this way a council, a governance body should operate.
Okay, so the motion amended is that we extend
The contract,
on 21st Street only to
October
October
31st.
31st.
23rd Street?
21st.
21st.
We did 23rd and 18. But, okay,
So I think we should have the whole motion though read before it's voted on.
yes, it's a whole another amendment to all, you can take all the other ones out on this 21st Street anyway.
So the beginning of this motion is now to
To
extend
move
the cost.
that direct administration to make arrangements to extend the contract with Ruby Rock Works for the 21st Street project to
October 31st.
October 31st, 2022.
Yeah, so that's pretty much statement 4 up there.
Yes.
What's that, Deputy? Yep. Yeah, as
What
per,
did he say?
he said what was up there,
Oh,
completion date. Okay, and then, where's number 4? Find number 4. Got too many sheets. Okay, so I'll call, or is there any other comments on that? Councillor Bazic?
Just one, is it council's intention after the 31st to start charging that penalty? And if so, is it fair to advise the contractor that this could happen after the 31st? That's my question.
We would have to make that decision on October 20, well, it would be November, but October 25th, I guess, maybe we'll have a project update, a written project update, and then we have 5 days to, because we have a special council meeting as well, right?
Should they be aware of what could come down the road?
I think if they sign the contract, they know what the contract says, they know that that's a possibility.
I think Craig can have that conversation with him, because he said, I mean, I think he knows council, a lot of council aren't very pleased with this, but we will make that motion. And
I don't want to shake my finger at it,
okay, yeah. Okay, I will call the vote then. I'll read that back to us one more time.
Yeah, moved by Councillor Windsor to direct administration to make arrangements to extend the contract with Ruby Rock Asphalt for the 21st Street Stormwater Drainage and Surface Improvement Project to October 31st.
To a completion date of October 31st.
Completion date?
Completion date of October 31st. Yeah, so this year would be good.
Yeah, I have that in there.
Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. So in the motion, you were talking 21st Street. How about the project in the cemetery?
We're going to get to that. Okay, so I'll call a vote on 21st Street. All in favor? It's carried. And then we have you're requesting approval of removal of change order 1. Change order 1 was the 23rd. Well, the 21st in front of Memorial Complex. No, that would be 21st Avenue. So what are we doing? Because one says, so number 1 is 21st Street stormwater drainage. So is that right? Because we're 21st Avenue.
Number 2 is.
Number 1 is 21st Avenue, is it not? Correct?
It's really confusing. We're removing the change order, number 1, from the 21st Street project.
Okay.
The change order is for 21st Avenue.
Right, it was to include that. Now we're removing that. So I think, would someone like to make that? Because we really, then we have a decision to make about whether we tender it or not, or whether we let them finish it in the spring. So this motion, council approved the removal change order number 1 from the 21st Street stormwater drainage and surface improvement contract.
Yeah. I move that council approve the removal of change order number 1 from the 21st Street stormwater drainage and surface improvement contract.
Any other comments, Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm wondering if in the motion we should define what change order 1 is, that nobody else knows what that is. It should be defined as precisely what that is.
Should
So
we
that
attach the change order to that motion? Would that?
It would just be the 21st, the Memorial Complex drainage project.
Okay.
We call it that, we'll call it that.
Yeah, as long as there's a reference to a friendly amendment to that.
Is that?
You still with us, Deputy Mayor? Okay, any other discussion on that? I read that back just so we get it right again. Just injected 2 words or 3.
So to approve, moved by Councillor Moore to approve the removal of change order 1 from the 21st Street stormwater drainage and surface improvement contract to remove the Memorial Complex.
Could we have that right after change order 1, being that it's my motion, if I may? To say that the 21st Avenue Memorial Complex, whatever, however that's,
Yeah, change order 1, Memorial Complex Drainage Project.
thank you, that's the word, thank you, that's what I said.
All right, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And then we have item 2, to authorize the purchase of pipe material from the contractor up to a maximum of $60,000. And the expenditure be allocated to 21st Avenue Storm and Surface Works project. I think this is the one that, is anyone willing to purchase some pipe? Or should we let, maybe it's out of order, maybe we decide first whether or not we're gonna let them defer to the project. I think that would be better. So, council, approved contractors, where is it? Let's see here. Oh,
It's not there.
it's not here, because we have to let them,
So that would be
It's
change order,
removed.
change order 2.
no, they still plan to do it. They don't want to do it in the spring?
Sorry, now I've lost track of which project we're talking about.
Memorial Complex project to be done in the spring.
Ruby Rock would love to come back and do it for us in the spring. So there's just a weird nuance with the pipe, is that because the change order was issued under the 21st Street contract, the subcontractor for Ruby Rock is the one who purchased the pipe material. Because he was going to be the one that installed it, and then Ruby Rock would pay the subcontractor, and then we pay Ruby Rock. That's all under the 21st Street contract, which we're taking the change order for this project out of. So now we got pipe purchased under the 21st Street contract that doesn't have a project to be used for. So it seems fitting with proof from the contractor for the cost of the pipe. We're going to install it next year, whether it be through this contractor or another. That pipe is going in the ground. So there is price certainty to purchasing it at the moment. There's no obligation to us to purchase it. If they can pick it up and take it home.
It's relative, so we have all this pipe, we say to a contractor, well, we have the pipe itself like that in here. Oh,
Yeah. Pipe material to be supplied by the owner.
The pipe that we don't need.
Well, we'll insist that the pipe is put in the ground.
Whether we need it or not.
Well, no, it's for the memorial drainage project, so it's we won't build a pipeline to nowhere. I can't, not as long as I live here.
So this is the one though where they're not going to honor a certain cost of a certain product. Right? And find that for me, 21st Avenue, uncertainty. I would like to hear the motion that we hold them to the quote that they had agreed to this year. Go ahead, Craig.
I was wondering if I could make a friendly amendment to that and give them the opportunity to hold the price next year, because we'll be facing the same market conditions with everybody else, and put that in the motion, or they have to come back to council for further consult. So if they want more money in the spring, it's not coming to me and my department saying, here, we've had a price increase, and they can show me all the documents they want, but I think we're here.
Thank you, Mayor. See, that's the problem I have with this, is that we're going to defer a project which conceivably could cost us more money because they want to do it in the spring. And
So we're holding the price.
well, nobody's saying give the option to hold the price. You just said that.
Okay, maybe you could just clarify that.
Yeah, my apology. I think I maybe was misunderstood. My friendly amendment would be that you make the motion to hold them to that price.
Okay?
If they are unable to, they'd have to come back to this table to discuss, to get further
Well, I think maybe that's just a given anyways, though.
Yeah,
If the motion is to hold them to the price,
Yeah.
maybe we don't need to include that in the motion.
I understand that, but the downside is we're not getting that work completed.
No, we're not.
That's the downside of this. You know, this contractor took on these 2-3 projects, and we're not getting performance. You know, and how do we get around that? I mean, God.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm going to go along the same lines as Councillor Baswick. This contractor has not demonstrated some reasonable responsibility here from my point of view. I mean, he's in breach of contract. In addition to that, there's safety issues with this contractor. So I'm not sure, local or not, do we want to be hiring a contractor that has that history?
Can I just say something that I think that's not appropriate at this table? I think that we don't know what happened, and anyways,
Then you have to call for an order,
point of order.
but then we would have to, and the think opinions are, there's been many opinions up here that really aren't fair to council and to. We're obviously disappointed in how this is played out. We are disappointed in how this is played out. So we need, is there anyone wanting to make the motion to hold them to that price? And I know, Councillor Baswick, I am empathetic that too, that we have a situation where we're not going to get projects done this year. We hold them to the price, and if they come back and we can't agree with that, we can just tender it out again as well. That would be a decision next spring, or maybe earlier than spring, so we know who's going to be doing it. Would you like to make the motion to hold that? To have Rubydale or Ruby Rock hold the price on the 23rd Avenue Stormwater?
21st.
And I'm conflicted and
You don't have to make.
and bothered by this delay of. I can tell you, in my experience, whether my whole house burns down or not, I finish the project that I'm committed to.
Do you have an alternative motion to tender it out in the 2023 capital budget? Just
Well, something to the effect that they committed to the price. I'd like that price to be the same next spring, right? And yeah, if they don't like that, it doesn't feel comfortable to them, they're gonna have to come, the contract is now void and we start over, right? And this time, find somebody that's actually gonna finish the darn work.
So the motion then is just to hold Ruby Rock to the 2022 pricing of the Memorial Complex Stormwater Project to be completed as a priority in the spring of 2022. Do you have that, Joanna?
Yeah. I'll repeat that. Ruby Rock, moved by whoever, that Ruby Rock hold the 2022 price for 21st Avenue Storm and Surface Works project to be completed in the spring of 2023.
Well, we're talking about the complex.
Yeah, I think we need to put them, we know what it is, but let's just use the words Memorial Complex after the address.
Oh, instead
before
of Storm Surface Works.
No, that's fine, to put all that in, just put the Memorial Complex, the Memorial Complex, 21st Avenue Storm and Surface Works Improvement.
So is that Councillor Baswick's motion?
Yes. Just quickly, I want to make sure that people know that this is no reflection on our public works or administration. It wasn't their issue. The issue is the contractor, you know. So I hold them in, they're not responsible for this issue that we've got right now. It's totally on the contractor side.
Thank you for that observation. So are there any other comments? Are we happy with that motion to hold Ruby Rock to the 2022 pricing for the Memorial Complex project? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Does this mean we're not going to put it out to tender?
If they feel we're at that price, yes, we
But
do.
we might get it cheaper by putting it out for tender.
I don't think that would work.
I'm happy with the motion to hold them to that price because we accepted that for 2022, so
We'll give them the option to finish.
they can certainly give us a discount if they like next year. I know that's not like, I know the contractor's not gonna do that. You can put that wording in there. I don't know that we'd expect them to come back with all new pricing to see if it's cheaper. That would be a big ask.
I think they'd expect it to be obvious that if they don't conform to the pricing we're asking them to do to carry into the new year, that it would be done and we go for a contract.
Yeah, if they can't hold that price, then they'll have to come back or tell Craig that, and we would have to tender it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I guess that just looking at the procurement policy, and I think that this is no longer under contract. It's a brand new project. It's a project that we're going to be looking at doing for 2023 now. It's no longer a 2022 project. So aren't we required to put it out to tender?
I'm just bypassing you, Ethan, sorry. You're certainly welcome to jump in anytime.
I would if it wasn't okay.
So I think that there's an opportunity here, if the motion sort of stands as is, committing Ruby Rock, or requesting Ruby Rock commit the current pricing to next spring. They can let me know as we get closer if there's a problem. We'll know if market conditions are easing to the point where we would anticipate seeing some sort of practical reduction in fuel consumption, labor rates, the type of equipment being used. We already own the material, so we're going to be material isolated except for the asphalt and concrete. So we'll know, the sniffer's pretty strong on that one. Like we saw this year's escalation coming last fall. We'll know, and we don't hear price. There's no concern that we're going to see that 150% again, which is what we kind of absorbed over the last. It's been remarkable. So I would think if the motion stands to have them hold, they'll let me know whether they can or can't. We'll also then gain knowledge whether or not it's reasonable to go back to market, and we can always go to market. There's nothing holding us there.
Then we should maybe put a date on it, that they have to advise you by a certain date. Because would that be March 15th?
Pending the results of our conversations tonight and the decisions made, I'll talk with Ruby Rock. I'll get them to sort of look in their crystal ball when would be a good time to get moving on the project to avoid the June rains, because there's a sweet spot at the very beginning. There's between frost coming out of the ground and rain starting that a project like this would fit into. So I'll try and get them to work into that range. And yeah, so 45 days is kind of we write it into our contracts with the rack, we call it the rack price. If the rack price escalates by a certain percentage within 45 days of purchasing, they can resubmit pricing for review and acceptance kind of idea. So that's sort of how we plan it. So 45 days before when we want to see a triggered start date would be the minimum I would like to see as like the department guy running the contract. If I get told it then, or if we know that we're going to be going to market, we can have sort of the same sort of conversation. We might go to market in February if conditions are sort of telling us that that's going to be favorable for us. So, and then we could find out whether Ruby Rock's price that they're holding from 22 is good compared to what we're getting today. So,
What's the date?
oh, it's impossible
I don't
to.
want to lose it. I don't want to lose this, that council wants us back in a reasonable timeline in the spring, so we know they're not. So even just say by the end of March 31st, and then even to touch base on March 31st.
Yeah, we can, and then go from there as an update.
Yeah.
So everybody's radar then.
Yeah, I think on this one, there's some moving parts about, because you've removed the change order, so now it doesn't even exist as a project. Which means now it's outside that, because you can extend projects, you can, once you tender them, that's fine. But by removing the change order, it no longer exists as a project, because it wasn't a standalone project, it was tacked onto this. So we're gonna get some guidance from legal on even if you can have a hold the price kind of thing.
Well, we wouldn't have made that motion, I don't think, if we'd have known that.
Well, that's what I was
Perhaps.
trying to think of how we could potentially massage that other one, but I don't know how you would, because it's part of a contract.
We could rescind the motion and make a new motion to extend that contract, but hold change order 1
Yeah,
to be deferred to spring.
defer change
You're gonna
order.
extend the whole-
So defers change order 1. Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Councilor Moore has a question, and then you guys think about it.
You have to retender it.
Actually,
I just think we need something different than removing it, whether it's extending it.
Did you ask a question?
yes. Actually, if we're holding the price, we should, make they said the labor and materials except for the asphalt. And I think if we're asking them just to hold the price, then the asphalt is would be something that they've already said that they need to be able to do market for that.
They can't even do that now because the change order has been canceled, so we can't even do the
No.
project unless we rescind that motion.
But they were talking about the spring when they said, so they've already made that offer to us. And that's why I'm saying if they offered to hold that,
So we
except that they needed to do market for asphalt, should we then make that adjustment in a motion so that they've already agreed to it? And that way we would be in line with what they said, and we will get that, holding that price and getting that project done in spring.
It would have to be the 21st Street project is,
Yes.
it all, we can't
Exactly.
cancel change order 1. So we'll have to rescind that motion and make a new one.
I think maybe we'll bring,
But if, we don't want to leave any loopholes. It's-
You can't. A free trade agreement, so.
But we can rescind the motion about 21st Street. Why can't we?
yeah, no, you can. You can. I think we just need to get some added direction. So if you want, I think you're right to continue this as an option. I'm not sure, again, I don't know how possibly this could work, how it could function as its own thing, because it's not its own thing. It was a tack on to something that now is concluding at the end of the month. That's where it's difficult, but we'll get some direction on it. I recommend on this one, maybe we table this and we bring back.
After an hour and a half, you want us to table something?
Well, just on the part about the aspect of if there's a way to do what we're trying to do. With regards to.
Councillor McCoy and Councillor Windsor, is this relative to what Ethan's saying? If it's relative to what Ethan's saying, because we've been around this an hour and a half, so go ahead and let Councillor McCoy. Whoever.
I was just going to make a motion that,
We have a,
well, or a friendly amendment that we go, like, I think
we don't need a motion because Ethan needs to look into it.
right, but I'm saying that we shouldn't come out with any motions for those first 3 yet, if you're asking for it back. That's my only question.
Just do 4.
Yeah, we did number.
I know, and that's where, go ahead and then
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I think the problem here is that it was in the contract, and if we're going to extend the contract to end on the 31st, it doesn't carry forward to next spring.
Right.
The contract is over on the 31st.
Yes.
Therefore, this project is a whole new ballgame. It needs to either go out for tender, or we need to sign a new contract with Ruby Dale for that specific project.
That's our concern. We don't know how you have a change order function
And then we-
by itself.
Yeah, and I'm understanding all that, but I'm just worried about the motion, not worried about it, we just need to address the motions that are already up there to make them right. So, Ethan, how do we make the motions right here to get this information back without Craig having to go? I mean, he has to, if we just say the 21st Street project and don't even mention change order 1, because that's going to be dealt with after we get our legal advice.
Right, right. So at this point, maybe just rescind that motion about taking out the change order 1, and at this point, just extend the project out to
Right.
the first.
Okay.
By extending the change order, or by extending the contract to the 31st, that would also include the complex, would it not?
Yes, but we have to get a legal opinion on that,
Right,
Councillor
so we
Basil.
don't have to do anything special about
We
that.
don't have to do anything right now,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
We'll bring it back to the next meeting.
But we have to rescind the motion on the change order. And Councillor Windsor, we have to really wrap this up, so say what you need to say. We're gonna rescind the motion, we're getting information back, and then what?
If we leave it the way it is, or pardon me, if we don't take the change order out and we extend it to the 31st, then on November 1st, they're going to be in breach of contract again.
Yes, but we can address, in the meantime, we'll have an opinion on change order 1.
Unless we're getting legal.
Yes,
Right.
we'll have an opinion. Because there's no way around it, because they're not going to do it in front of the Memorial Complex in November.
I appreciate that, I understand that, I'm just trying to get.
We just have to get it right, and so we leave the motion to extend the 21st Street project, that was fine. And then we rescind motion on change order 1.
And we could put a sprung building over the road and work all winter.
Yeah, like Fremont Street in Vegas, you just have this big hood canopy and or. Anyway, you want us to rescind the motion on change order 1?
Or, I mean, here's another way to think about it, because as we kick this around, because again, I don't know how possibly it could exist anyways, but I'm happy to look into it. But the other thought is, that's fine, and then we just retender it in the spring. And if they're gonna hold our price or be really competitive because they really wanna to earn back our good grace, then they'll make a competitive bid during that tender. And maybe we just keep it at that, and we don't need the other things about holding prices and things like that. If you could just continue on with what you've done, and that.
We have no motions on this topic.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we're taking that Councillor Baswick's withdrawn that motion about holding pricing that no longer exists anyways.
We are. Still expresses dismay though. Okay.
Okay, so nothing gonna come back then on this item.
Next meeting?
That's right?
Yes.
That's, okay. Okay.
Unless you can work some miracles or something.
No, yes. Other than a written update on the project.
So, with what?
Have we dealt with the pipe?
No. So we're still on this topic, we got to talk about the pipe. The pipe? The $60,000 pipe that is sitting there.
Oh, that pipe.
Yeah, that pipe
That we need anyways.
that we need it. I'm not, I'm going to just speak on behalf of council. This is not a good situation, and it's really, we don't want it to happen ever again in the 3 years that are left on this term. And then maybe I should be speaking for council, that's how I feel, that I don't, it's been very difficult, and maybe we just don't do any change orders ever again either, but who would like to make the motion on the pipe?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah?
Mayor Hunter, through the chair, is this pipe, is this cement pipe, or is this actual polyurethane pipe, or is it plastic pipe, or what kind of pipe is this? And is it the best for the job that we want to do with it? And if it's not, do we want to buy a pipe that's inferior for the job at this point?
Whew, that's a lot of questions. Yeah. This is concrete pipe. That's the only word answer. Yes, it's suitable. There's always alternates.
Is there better alternatives?
Yeah, potentially. It's
Life-term difference.
better expectancy with concrete. Yep, for sure.
Plastic, yeah.
Yeah, it's more robust.
We won't make the
At
motion.
this point, we don't want to purchase the pipe until we get, maybe we want to just have that information back on alternatives too. And not, we don't do it for next meeting. You're still going to make that motion right now.
If it's okay, just so I have clarity of what's being asked, are you looking for like installation efficiency versus unit rates or something? I don't know what kind of information you're looking for.
What I'm looking for is the best serviceable pipe that we can put in the ground, and it isn't concrete. The best serviceable pipe that we can put in the ground is probably plastic. It'll last way longer than concrete. It has fewer joints than concrete, fewer gaskets.
It does have fewer joints and fewer gaskets. This is storm water, so we're not too concerned about like water pressure. That's always PVC for various reasons. Concrete is 100% suitable for storm systems, and they'll last for a century. So there's good durability in it. I wouldn't knock it for a suitable installation, and it comes down to the unit rate. So a contractor installing a short piece of pipe, they can, they're getting paid by the linear meter for what they think it'll take them to put that in versus a plastic one. So the proof is always comes out in the pudding. It could possibly be, and this is a hypothetical, the contractor would say, oh, you're supplying the pipe, but it's concrete, but I can give you PVC for this price, and I'll guarantee material supply. So that there is risk to us to buy the pipe. There's price certainty that comes from buying the pipe. So it's a decision for.
I don't think we want to make a decision tonight, though. I think we can wait on that one.
Okay.
Just only, there's more to this, I think, than just making a motion and having a decision. So we can bring it back even in October 25th. But I think we've spent an hour and 40 minutes on this. And we don't even have to accept the cemetery updated information because they told us what can happen with that. Unless that's an easy one. If anybody wants to make the cemetery update.
Thank you, I appreciate what you're doing.
And let's move on. That was, Cape membership, item 7.2. Yes? Well, sure, yeah. And we don't, if there's no questions, that's fine too. And I know that Alexa listened to us for a long time, but that maybe we just are going to limit our questions if we don't have any.
I just thought we usually have a motion on the floor and talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
A motion to renew the membership with Central Alberta Economic Partnership and continue participation by the Economic Development Officer. Request an annual report prepared by the Economic Development Officer to monitor the return on membership investment.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. We have three representatives on that body, and I wonder how many reports we've had back with regard to the membership that we have in that organization. I don't believe I've ever seen one from our business rep. The ones that we've had from our municipal rep have been sketchy, and I think the only one I've seen from the EDO is the one that we got in this report. So I'm wondering what value it is to us to have a membership.
Can I speak to the last meeting just to the one question that you had? Because the last meeting there was a report from Helen Hafke about being at the AGM. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
So there is a short verbal just to go along with this item, just from our EDO, reporting on as was directed from council.
That's outside of what the report says?
No, it's just to kind of speak to the report, but really, and then to answer any questions mainly. So,
okay.
And just to clarify, the only report specifically, just due to Councillor Winter's comments, just to clarify, the only report that council had directed that it was to come back from administration on CAPE involvement was this one that's here tonight. So there wouldn't be any previous reports because none were requested from council.
Well, there was a motion about our CAPE representative.
Oh yeah, I'm speaking to administration.
You're speaking to something else.
Yeah, because administration was mentioned in that.
Okay.
That's one of the comments.
And I'd rather, I mean, I think questions should come first because it's a 2-page report, and unless there's new information to add to that report, we have had a long meeting, and I don't mean to take away anybody's opportunities, but if you have anything to add to this report, I think that would be important, and then we have questions, and then there's a motion on the table.
I think it's, as you said, there's, already a lot of information that was there. There's all the initiatives that we took part in, and overall what I can say is that CAPE was a huge resource and wealth of knowledge. If I had questions or I needed help with anything, I could call on them, and I didn't have to do all of the research myself. They had something to contribute to that. I think the benefits we got, for example, we were the first ones out of the gate with when there were any programs or grant opportunities. We were the first ones, the communities that are part of CAPE, that received the information and also had the opportunity to actually. CAPE always organized a workshop with provincial or federal government representatives to actually explain and elaborate on the programs and grants so that we can properly take advantage of that. And for example, one example for that would be the FDI grant that we got for the regional project, which is well on its way, and we would have not known about that or really more in detail about that if it wouldn't be for that presentation, because there is always a lot of information to process if you go for federal grants or provincial grants. It's just humongous. And then signing up with the programs, for example, the Rural Entrepreneurship Program, they did it for us. We were one of the first communities that were approved for this program, and we have 2 secured investors that are coming to Didsbury within the next 12 months or so. So these are just a couple that I want to point out. Also the EV charger, for example, information on that grant and the whole expression of interest and how it works with the grant. That was also something that was provided by CAPE and had an extra workshop. The immigration, they had workshop on that one. So it was very, very informative, and something we didn't have to do research because we could directly ask the representative. And when there was an issue with the program, we were able to directly address the provincial administration and our issues that we had, because we are at capacity with those programs. And it was a huge onus on the EDOs. They were addressed immediately by the province, and it was due to CAPE's initiative that we got to that point. So all in all, as she said, Kimberly, earlier, it is about, you know, what you put in, that's what you get out. That means that you have to participate, and you know, if you're taking advantage of it like we did as Didsbury, I think we got a really good deal out of that, and it would be worthwhile to continue on that. Not to mention, if we have investors, they always look not just at Didsbury, but how are we connecting, how are we collaborating with the rest of the region, because they're looking at distributor and how they connect to the rest of the world while they're actually settling down here in Didsbury. So that's pretty much, and we always get consulted, which has changed tremendously. I think the EDOs are really consulted, and we have a say. We are shaping the region as a whole and putting us, like for us, Didsbury on the map with that.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Moore and then Councillor Basil.
I just want to say this is what I had hoped for and never saw before, so thank you.
Right, I echo that. I had the opportunity to speak with Kate at the Alberta municipalities in their trade area, and once I introduced myself, they said, "Oh, Joyce McCoy is your rep." I said, "Yes, she is. We enjoy her input and a valued contribution to Cape." So there was more flowery talk, but that was basically, they seemed to like her. I don't know why, but yeah. So just a positive note for Cape that our representative is well regarded by that organization. So that's important to us. Thank you.
I have to say, I'm going to bring this back for the next meeting because what I'm hearing really is Central Alberta Economic Development Officers Partnership, which is fine with me, but I think, you know, the focus they have on EDOs now is really, it's where the focus should be. And so maybe that, I'm going to bring back some questions because I really would have appreciated their chairperson to be here tonight speaking to governors. We don't send Ethan to talk to a whole bunch of people when it's our project or our information, and I'm you know, James obviously he's probably busy, and I don't fault that or point fingers. I'm just saying I have questions for the chairperson and the board. I don't have questions for their CAO or CEO or whatever position or executive director, just because I think the chairperson should answer the questions that we have. So I hope council, well, I guess you'll have to indulge me next meeting to have a list of questions to send to the board, and that I hope that we can endorse them and get answers from the board on the issues, because it's the board's bylaws, it's not the executive director's bylaws.
Can I make a motion?
I think it is. Councillor McCoy has made that.
Oh, you have.
So,
But it might not be a motion you're asking.
well, no, you said to renew the membership with Central Alberta Economic Partnership and continue participation by the EDO, and then to request that update. So, any other questions or comments? I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have item 7.4, 7.3 franchise rate, 2023 franchise fee rates. And this is an easy one. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to refer the 2023 franchise fees for Acto Gas and Fortis Alberta to the Strategic Planning Committee for review and recommendation.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions or comments?
Make comments about background, can we do that, or do we do that in the committee meetings?
Well, yeah, it's about the motion. I think they should be done in the committee meetings, because SPC is going to sort it out. Unless it helps you make better. We did that last week with PEC and got better clarification on some things. But if you can get it at the meeting, that's fine, and maybe relay it to council. So I will call a vote. All in favor? That's carried. And we have item 7.4, Emergency Management Advisory Committee Orientation. Councillor Moore?
I move that council set Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. for an Emergency Management Advisory Committee orientation.
Questions or comments? Yeah, can you bring the fire trucks and stuff? Call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And not that it's best for last, but it's pretty close that our CP holiday train is returning to their tour. Exciting news. Who would like to make that? Councillor Bazard.
Oh.
He was behind you with his hand up first.
I recommended that a letter be sent from Mayor Hunter on behalf of council expressing the town of Didsbury's excitement and pleasure on the return of the CP holiday train on December 10th, 2022.
Mark the date.
Love that train.
Is anybody watching? Councillor, he is voting, right? Sandy Mary is voting. I'm helping him to not just look at me, so I better point at that way. Okay, call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, we have the CEO report. And are there any questions or comments on the CEO, or do you have anything to add in advance of that, Ethan?
No.
Okay. Any Councilor Bowser has a question?
Nope, I'm ready for the motion.
Oh, well, you can make the motion then, Mr.
Yeah.
Wagner.
Well, there were no questions, so I figured I'd just jump right in.
Yeah, no, I think I do, but go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, well,
I have another answer.
I'll move that council accepts the CAO report for October 11th, 2022 as information.
Okay. I'm interested in our planning and development documents. I said it before and I say it again, that council seems to always be the last to know about development and what's going on. And if there's something that, could we just have things that are actually confirmed as to what they might be rather than just this I know we used to have them, an update. Maybe the planning development officer can just provide a verbal update or include them in there. And I just say that out of selfishness because people ask me and I say, I don't know what's going on. And it's just maybe because we haven't ever asked for that before.
Sorry, maybe just clarify what specific information you're...
Well, I know there's some a project going on north of train. Is that possible for council to know what that is? If it's an approved development permit and everything's in place, and we say that that land is being developed into what they say on Facebook is storage units, and I don't know that that's true, and I don't get my information there, but I would like maybe council to have information that's confirmed with these reports. You know, we used to get businesses that have opened, businesses that have closed, and since you've been here, we probably haven't brought it up. So is that, I ask for that so that, I don't have to say, I don't know.
Sure. So I just need to make sure I understand what information you're looking for. So it sounds like you're just looking for an information on new permits issued, new projects approved.
Yeah, what they are, rather than, I mean, a garage is a garage, I get that, but if we have, ASPs or bigger developments or businesses that are opening, I think, sometimes we don't know that because they're home businesses, and maybe that's, not maybe, it is an important thing to know.
With all due interest, wouldn't that come through MPC, like they know that information?
You guys can tell us that stuff, then.
When you talk about storage units, that's been approved to build just north of the town.
We don't get updates from MPC committee members.
I know because we don't We don't want council to know this.
Right, that's what it says. You can't, maybe somebody else can tell us.
But that's why they give it to the NPC to do the approval without boring council with all that information.
I just don't think it's boring. I think it's something that, were you gonna say something, Craig? Was he gonna like it?
No, I think what we'll do, I think it's, Craig will just speak to that one thing, and there is something more coming with that property next meeting, but.
See, this is good.
But we'll, now that we understand the kind of information that you would appreciate having, we'll start including regular reports on the kind of things that NPC is aware of, council should be aware of too, so.
Since they will report to us.
Well, actually, I did report on that storage unit. I did. So.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
I was going to, but John told me not to.
Yes.
But
Craig, did you want to answer something? We're done and we'll finish this.
I think you'll agree, we can't get information on a development or anything when it's in progress.
No, I know.
We could spoil that, right? So it has to be almost concluded before we get the information. And NPC's the same way, we get the results of, once they're firmed up, we get it.
Yes.
And so, like, if Costco is coming here, for example, the scuttlebutt is, or they're talking about it, that's not good enough. We can't let that
I
out.
understand that.
So
I have to go to Facebook for that information.
That's right.
But Craig is going to answer something, and then I'll let Councilor McCoy and Councilor Williams.
I almost feel redundant, but yes, it's going to be a storage facility. But the earthwork is moving out there, the equipment's working, so yeah, they're excited about it. So it's going to be RV storage and covered storage. So.
Thank you. You know, to answer that.
You should have told them.
Councilor McCoy?
I would ask for this in the reporting, I would ask for the same thing for TechGov as well. When there's stuff that's been signed off, it would be nice to know.
Sorry, I hate being the last to know that we're getting a 5th pharmacy and everyone else in town knows it already.
Another pharmacy.
Oh, goody.
Wow. See when we start talking about this stuff, what we learn. Councilor Williams, go ahead.
I would also like to say that our NPC minutes are actually included in the external report.
That's not we say what it is, though.
Just saying.
So maybe make your motion so it says what it is.
Well, this is big fun.
This is Councilor Windsor, and then you can have that motion.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. It seems to me that during previous workshops and discussions and things that we were looking for a budget, a preliminary budget in September. And it's now October and we still have not had a single budget discussion. So I would like an update on where we are with the budget for 2023.
Can you provide that?
Yes, that's not quite accurate, but just to clarify, there is more information coming to council. But as we said, as we have potential areas of when we're planning for things to come, and those things are forthcoming within the fall here. And like I said, there is more information forthcoming to council.
October 25th?
No, later in the agenda, but yeah.
Yeah,
I think, thank you, Mayor Hunter. I think that it was important to this council that we do budget process much earlier this year than what we have in the past. I think that was a directive that we gave in the CAO evaluation. And so I would like to move the council direct administration to present the draft 2023 operating and capital budget to the November 8th, 2022 regular council meeting.
So I would just, Councillor Windsor's kind of overstepping some stuff, unfortunately, and I would just ask that council go in closed or go in as per section 24 and 23 of the WIC Act. If council wishes to have any, I'm not prepared to speak any further to this right now in that way.
I'm fine for a motion to go close, just so you can say what you need to say.
Motion that we go into close.
Can we push that at the end with the rest of the code, please, so we get rest of the discussion?
I don't think so.
Huh? Better to go at the end, add it to the close at the end instead of disrupting the meeting.
I don't think we can, because it's a topic that was brought up during the CO report, so we have a motion to go closed, and I think it'll just be brief.
Very brief.
Okay, and then we'd have to ask.
We have to vote for.
Oh, yeah, we do. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
We just motion to go in camera.
So we have a
Deputy
motion
Mayor.
on the floor already to accept the CAO report.
Yeah, so we're dealing with
Sidebar.
you're right.
Sorry.
We can accept that, and then, so we'll have to just move that motion to after accepting the information. Can we, Deputy Mayor, when did you vote there? I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Voted for a better system in Canada.
Well, the CA report, and then there's just some information on the budget. So we aren't thinking. Okay. Well, we're just a little confused here now because we've said we're closed and we're not, and so we'll have to.
Are we in close?
No, well, we did vote on it, so I think we just have a motion to come back out. Yeah, and we never.
I've been skating for probably, well, I took a 12-year hiatus, so in total probably 22 years total. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I'm seasoned for sure, and a lot of these boys are too. Every person that's on this park right